Last time on Star
Plaid
Trek: The Next
lads.
Generation.
Peeing in the stream.
There's
One of those tiny little fish that flies up your pee stream and gets in your wiener. Now out my wiener.
And now, the conclusion.
Ow! Okay, I'm feeling
Fellas,
all
what
right.
movie did we watch this week? As Justin's dying from the pea stream fish. Justin, as you hallucinate and die from the fish burrowing in your urethra, what did we talk about?
Sending the fever, taking it higher and higher. Then the fever, taking it higher, taking it higher and higher.
That's right.
This week,
Go ahead.
let's do it all at the same time. This
All right.
week we are discussing David Wayne's
And Michael
Showalter's 2001 masterpiece of American cinema, Wet Hot American Summer.
Engage.
Yeah, that title is very appropriate for how it feels outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we watched Wet Hot American Summer, which is a movie I have not seen in over a decade.
Really?
Yeah, I have not rewatched this movie in a very, very long time.
Is there a reason behind that?
I don't know. I don't rewatch movies too terribly often.
See, this is Justin. You always ask this question, and I never have a good answer. But I think I finally have a good answer. Justin will often ask, "What is a movie that when you're just bored?" And this might be a little anachronistic now, but when you're bored and flipping around the channels, even if it's in the middle, you will stop what you're doing and just finish watching the movie.
Yeah.
And Wet Hot American Summer is one of those movies for me. So I've rewatched it a few times on like Comedy Central or on HBO a few times because it'll just be on occasionally. So I probably saw it about 3 years ago now, but
This is one of my. I made a list a few weeks ago of I like lists of like my favorite movies of all time, and this is one of my all-time favorite films. I think it is legitimately one of the greatest films ever made. And I think it should be like in the Criterion Collection. It is that special of a movie.
It's pretty spectacular, and even though I hadn't seen it in a very long time, it was like Tom. It was a movie that I would way back in the day, like I would flip around Comedy Central, and this movie would just be on.
yeah, it was hard not to watch this movie.
Yeah, like you, ladies and gentlemen, have seen it. It was a flop when it was first released, but it sort of grew as it was airing on television. Mm-hmm. And there are lines in this movie specific, like there are so many lines that I was like, oh, I remember this like exactly.
Yeah.
There's stuff that's just burned in my brain, especially at the very beginning when Michael Showalter's character just randomly says, "I want you inside me."
Yes.
Like that has been in my head for over a decade, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I just remember so much of this film.
Amazing.
Throw the ball. This movie is so fucking special and singular, and there's a great documentary on Netflix.
Yep, Hurricane of Fun, I believe it's called.
That kind of details the making of this film, and I don't really, I struggle to think of a different time when there was such a convergence of insanely talented, lovable personalities.
Yeah.
From disparate, I mean, and some went on to be household names. Your Amy Poehler's, to a lesser extent, Chris Maroney.
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley fucking Cooper, of course. His first feature film.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks. There were so many like before they were famous. Elizabeth Banks, Bradley Cooper, Chris Maloney. I think Chris Maloney was on
Yeah.
Law and Order. this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, SBO.
Yeah, there are
And,
a few like
Before he stormed the world and got his face put on Mount Rushmore, Michael Ian Black.
yes.
William Black.
God,
A guy
sick
I
of
hate
him.
yeah, yeah, and then you got like Michael Showalter. You got the Stella guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Ian Black, Michael Showalter.
David Wayne.
The
David
guys from
Wayne's
the
not in
state.
No, he just directs it.
Yeah, the state.
Yeah, the state.
State. Yeah.
David Wayne, Joe Latrulio, Michael Ian Black, Showalter.
Oh, wait.
Does the state hold up?
I don't know. It's hard to watch the
I
State.
haven't revisited it in a while.
I
There's
want to dip
one-
my balls in it.
Yeah, that's the one sketch that I rewatch all the time. Is I want to dip my balls in it, and that sketch is hilarious. And I have no idea if the other sketches are any good anymore.
Well, if this movie is any indication, I think 100%. I think this movie holds up 100%. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I was
There's-
thinking. My ultimate verdict is to agree with you. Bless you. But there were moments that, like, I was like, like we get a few homophobic f-bombs. Yeah. But this whole movie operates on 8 billion levels.
Yeah.
And it operates on different, like, it operates on different time levels. So the first time level obviously was made in 2001. In my mind, this is a quintessential 2000s movie, but also it's nostalgic and set in the 1980s. So it's operating on those two temporal levels at once. So one, it was not inappropriate. Well, it should have been, but it wasn't unheard of to hear homophobic f-bombs dropped at that point in history. And obviously it's referencing an even older time. But the characters then, these two dorks witnessing their friend and seeing that he's actually a homosexual man who's in like a commitment ceremony with Bradley Cooper, Michael Ian Black's character, they're like, we have to do something about this. Yeah. Then later on in the cafeteria, they stand at the door and go, hey, you, we've got something for you. And it's like a chaise lounge from Crate and Barrel.
Yeah. Crate and Barrel with a very anachronistic Crate and Barrel.
We'll go a little more chronological, but I'll talk about that for a second. That's exactly like the thing that I thought maybe I don't know, but I think it 100% does, because this is an outrageous movie. David Wayne makes outrageous things, but not shocking things meant to shock you. You have the whole sequence where they go into town and then it just escalates into them doing heroin,
doing drugs,
and being strung out. And then, they were only gone for an hour. I think... So something especially with that subplot of the Michael Ian Black marriage
Bradley Cooper
and Bradley Cooper thing, even if it was made today, they would 100% still use that language because it's necessary for the humor of it. Because the humor, that's why I love it so much. The humor is in often the sincerity, and when there's a romantic and sexy homosexual love scene in the middle of this movie, and the joke is
they're talking over how they're going to get their friend laid.
Exactly, which is like playing on tropes of 80s things, but the joke is not that they're gay. The joke is that in this movie there's this incredibly poignant love story happening. That's the joke of it, and that's something that I gravitate towards so much: sincerity as humor.
That's a good thing, because a good jumping off point, because a big thing that strikes me with this movie is that it is operating simultaneously on about 18 meta levels in any given moment. This movie is there is no empty space, and often it is multiplexing different layers of humor simultaneously. So, like, especially the moments with Coop and Katie, it's operating on like 3 self-aware levels. There's lots of ethically correct lampshading and of known tropes. But at the same time, it's like I'm laughing, but my heart is genuinely like breaking for Michael Showalter, who's just got the most empathetic face in this movie. My heart was breaking for him.
The moment when the Katie character you can see is starting to change on her opinion of him. He's saying some funny things. We'll throw the clip in.
Where did you go all the way?
Yeah, you bet we went all the way. We went all the way. Went all the way back, too. We did Doggy Style, Pony Style, Style Council. That's a good band. They're hot right now. Human League. They have some good stuff. League of Nations. That brings the whole thing of the United Nations. And then that brings in the whole category of countries. I mean, where to start? Well, you know, the obvious one. Birthplace of spaghetti and pasta, all that oily stuff. Italy. Now you go.
How about Italy?
Yeah, good. Safe, because I kind of paved the way with that one. But.
And they're genuinely funny. And it's a hilarious bit between them that makes sense in real life, that she would start maybe rethinking him within this movie where there are sight gags left and right of like little kids falling over.
Yeah, dying or making out with a grown woman.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what I think it was a Kate Coop scene, but the shot began with a bunch of kids huddled together, and then the group breaks up and one of them just runs off into the forest behind of the shot, but then the dialogue progresses and it's this hilarious meta touching moment. Meanwhile, still in the shot is the kid running off into the woods. Oh my god, this movie, it's going to be a Rosetta Stone for humor. It's like a classic Mel Brooks or something. There's so much humor happening all the time. There's so many people and story arcs. One of my favorites, the Janine Garofalo, David Hyde Pierce.
Yes.
Space, the final frontier.
Right. Thanks for everything.
Hey, you know what? It'd be a great idea if you came by the camp and taught the campers about space.
No, I couldn't.
Oh, they'd love it.
No, I couldn't possibly. But...
Oh, it'd be just...
I said no! Sorry. That was...
Yeah, we haven't talked about it, but David Hyde Pierce is in this movie.
Yes.
And he's
amazing.
Fuck my cock.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. Like, and I was thinking as I was rewatching this, is David Hyde Pierce, and I think we all know the answer to this, is David Hyde Pierce like a pantheon comedic actor?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think it's weird to say because he's so iconic in Frasier, but he's underrated or underused.
Yeah.
He's not in much, and it's a
You
goddamn
realize-
shame.
Well, he likes doing theater,
True.
so he's in a lot of theater. But you know, with this, his line reads in this movie are amazing. He's doing a different kind of comedic acting than what he does in Frasier.
Mm-hmm.
Like a very different kind of comedic acting. His character is a little less silly than Niles.
He's a bit more serious, but the situations are way more silly. There's a lot more goofy shit like meet me over by the bench in 10 seconds. And then we pan over and they've all assembled. Thank you for meeting me here.
I like the way this conversation's going. Let's keep going like this, but I'm going to throw in some facts for people who have not seen this. These are all like in their 30s actors playing like 16, 17-year-old camp counselors. And then there are actual children playing children. And they're all incredible as well.
Yeah, no, there's great child acting in this movie. Like,
by the
really
way,
child comedic acting.
I wanted to do this as an exercise. Maybe this is the time. But who are each of us?
Okay,
now,
I
think to an extent, we're all the kid who won't take a shower, who's narrating as a radio show.
No, Franklin is the D&D kid. At least his speech to the girls, which we drop in now. This is Frank.
Excuse me, ladies. You may remember me as the guy who came to dinner a few weeks ago with underwear on my head. My name is Keith Stack from Millburn, New Jersey. State bird, the mosquito. And as you may have heard, I am recently a crowned Class B dungeon master. So if any of you would like to play D&D today, please speak now, or forever hold your peace.
As I was rewatching this movie, I was like, this is Justin, and this is what I want to pin on Justin, is he is this kid. Talking, you can be one of our druids.
That is Frank. I fully accept that I am the little fat kid who yells for dinner and stuff. Throw the clip in.
Lights his fart at the talent show.
Yes. Makes out with the 30-year-old woman.
I kind of feel like a little bit there's a nice pairing of me and Justin and Joe Latruglia and the guy with the arc of the kids on the river and he's trying to get back to the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much.
I think as adults we're all Michael Showalter.
I'm the fat adult one. I am.
So
I accept it.
Joe Latruglia?
No, the long-haired one.
Oh, Zach Orth.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, Coop is some sort of like part of the DNA of a Plaid lad. He even has a flannel shirt that factors large.
That's his favorite shirt, and he makes her give that.
Amazing.
It's an adorable scene.
It legitimately is.
Really sweet, but at the same time well, actually, it's my favorite shirt. Do you want it back? Yes, actually, I do.
Do we want to go through it chronologically?
Yeah, I mean, it takes place in the course of one day. Like, that's the thing of the movie.
Which I noticed something. And when I noticed this, it melted my heart. And there's a very funny bit at 9 in the morning where the camp counselors get together and say, hey guys, let's get back together in 10 years.
Yes.
And see what kind of adults we bloom into. And they say, well, what time? Well, let's say 9:30. And, but then Michael Showalter, or Michael Ian Black says, good, because I have something at 11. Which is like a ludicrous thing. But then watching the movie, I realized it was in the 11 o'clock time card that he marries Bradley Cooper. In 10
wow!
years,
I noticed that.
In 10 years, he has the 10-year wedding anniversary to Bradley Cooper. That melted my heart when I realized that.
Did anyone watch the sequel?
I started watching the first. Here's the thing. A few years ago, I think me and Tom and a group started to watch the first episode, and I'll speak.
Oh no, not the miniseries, the actual sequel that got made, called 10 Years Later.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Isn't that the
that's first day of camp?
No, I know that. I thought 10 Years Later was the
second
movie? Season of that.
Oh, I thought that was a movie. I haven't watched it.
No, I think it's the second season of the Netflix.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'll speak for myself. When I've tried watching the first episode, I just became depressed at how fat Michael Showalter had become.
It took me out of it completely.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop.
The bit is hilarious that this is set at the beginning of the summer, so it's a prequel, but they're all even older. But it made me sad. I started watching it today, though, and I've accepted his fatness, and it's fun. But what it made me realize is all of David Wayne's stuff, He's got two kinds of things he does. He does kind of straightforward comedies, which are incredible, like Role Models, which is amazing.
Role Models is a masterpiece.
Yeah, and like Wanderlust, they're all normal, regular comedies. Then he has this weird. It's not parody. It's not satire.
It is a little bit.
It's a little bit, but not. It's not Airplane or Scary Movie. It comes at it with a reality, at least of intention.
Yeah, because in the beginning of Wet Hot, like this movie plays it pretty straight for a little bit. It's a parody that unravels slowly.
Yeah.
The really silly stuff, like the talking vegetable can and stuff like that, That comes later in the movie.
Voiced by H. John Benjamin.
Yes.
And the character's name
credited
is...
this time is John Benjamin.
Yes. And the cook's character's name is Gene, which is the name of his son on Bob's Burgers, and there is a delightful familiarity to it.
But then there's this style of David Wayne stuff, which is Children's Hospital, which is great. Also, They Came Together, which
need to see that
it's a
movie.
great movie, but what that tells you is there's something so perfect about this one that those other things don't have, and it's just the right place and the right time and the right energy.
It's lightning striking.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much this counts for. David Wayne's like a veritable genius.
Yeah.
Don't follow his social media if you want to feel good about yourself.
Oh,
it's him making beautiful sketches and then composing music on a piano, all while being David Wayne.
Yeah.
But anyway, this movie, so he's good. But this movie is also credited as Wayne / Showalter.
Yes.
So you wonder how much Michael Showalter's influence.
Yeah, Michael Showalter, who
What did he direct?
Very recently?
The Big Sick.
Yeah, the Academy
He directed The
Award
Big Sick.
nominated Big Sick. So
He's directed a bunch of movies that are like very sort of postmodern. He directed a movie called The Baxter,
yes.
which is like an analysis of like Pomo sad boy rom-com movies.
Yep.
But I honestly, I think it's just a coalescence of people. I mean, there are so many fucking amazing performances, but I think in terms of capital A acting, or perhaps decidedly lowercase a acting, that goes to Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Fucking his double
Paul Rudd,
take
who's amazing.
when Michael Showalter walks in is the best double take in cinematic history.
You taste like burgers. I don't like you anymore. his sequence. I think about the sequence legitimately, honestly, at least once a month, of him having to pick up the chair and the tray. It is amazing. And also, I know everybody says it, but
He doesn't age.
he does not age one fucking bit. He's the hottest guy I've ever seen.
As what's her name? Katie. The scene at the end.
Yeah, no, I'm a 16-year-old girl. I just want to have sex. She's
Yes.
sculpted from marble.
Yeah,
and you're
well-
really cute, but
Don't get me wrong.
We'll throw that in
But
because
sex specifically with him, not you.
yeah, it's
But
it's a great line.
Let's talk about that scene, because that scene, this movie, the whole thing is playing with established movie tropes.
Yes.
Of various varieties of movies. John Hughes, old action movies with training montages, the whole thing.
A hilarious segment that is purely just deconstructing Bad News Bears and then
Yes.
moving on.
oh, that sounds pretty trite and rote. We just shouldn't do that.
Is that the way we all feel?
Yeah.
No, he was totally cool with it. We're gonna have to put so many fucking clips in this. Let's just put the whole fuck anyway. But it does so in a way that leaves you in a pretty ethically okay spot.
Yeah.
For instance, Katie's speech at the end.
But I've thought about it, and my thing is this. Andy's really hot. And don't get me wrong, you're cute too, but Andy is like cut from marble. He's gorgeous. He's like this beautiful face and this incredible body, and I genuinely don't care that he's kind of lame. You know, I don't even care that he cheats on me. And I like you more than I like Andy, Coop, but I'm 16. And maybe it'll be a different story like when I'm ready to get married, but right now, I am entirely about sex. I just want Andy.
Yeah.
I want to take him and grab him and just fuck his brains out, you know? So that's where my priorities are right now. Sex, specifically with Andy and not with you. But you're really nice. I mean, everybody thinks so. And I'm sorry if this isn't the direction that you saw things going between us. I still totally want to be friends. Better write me a letter, okay?
Sure.
I don't know. I feel like it's the nice guy vaccine.
Yeah.
Sort of like transparent, taking the face off of the mystery of woman and showing women to be exactly the same, just having human carnal urges and saying it on the face of and taking away this notion that they be these less shallow creatures and that he just accepts it, and as she's explaining it point by point, you just see the gears turning in his head, and he's just like, okay. That follows.
Let me tell you, I've cried at 2 points in this movie. One was Stabler's speech.
Look, Ma, I'm okay.
We'll put a little bit in here.
At a time when I was trying to hide myself from myself, he was there to show me a new way. 'Cause I couldn't hide from him. And I can be proud of who I am. I put it to you. Campfirewood as we spend the last dinner together. Be proud of who you are. Look at me, Ma! I made it! I'm okay!
And it's about self-acceptance and everything, and he's accepting how he wants to hump the refrigerator and put mud on his butt. And it legitimately touched me. And the other one is there's a side plot in this film with Molly Shannon.
Oh, yeah.
Which is incredibly touching, and the thing that's hilarious about it is she's talking with children, but everything about it is played 100% straight.
Yeah. Serious. 100% serious.
I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know? And if you can't handle that, Ron, well then to hell with you!
You'll come back to me, Gail. I know you will.
I don't think so, Ronald von Kleinenstein. I really don't think so.
A beautiful moment with Judah Freelander.
Judah Freelander showing up for 2 seconds in this movie.
As Molly Shannon's soon-to-be ex-husband.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't recognize him because he's not in a trucker hat.
Yep.
Fuck. Okay, so we obviously hate this film.
Yeah, I will say the other line, other than "I want you inside me," that has been burned in my brain, was H. John Benjamin as the can of vegetables, who said,
"Look, Gene, I've never told anyone this before, but I can suck my own dick, and I do it a lot. There, I said it. I was honest. And you know what, Gene? Being honest makes you feel better."
That has been in my head for a very, very long time.
Shout out to Doughboys.
I've never listened to an episode of Doughboys. Is that a thing that they talk about?
Nick Weiger can suck his own dick.
I gotta listen to Doughboys
Yes,
then.
you do.
Does that come up?
Shall we take a straw poll? No. Let's not.
Nope.
How
Not
are
here
the
in the woods.
How are the Jesse Farrar episodes of Doughboys?
What?
How are the Jesse Farrar episodes of Doughboys?
I don't know. I don't know who that is.
He's a guy. He's very funny.
Probably good.
So if we can take our gaze, our loving gaze, I could just think of scenes all day.
Well, let's do that real quick. Are there any lines or...
So the moment where it's used as just a plot-moving device, where Janine Garofalo, as the camp director, is just making sort of an innocuous announcement to the cafeteria about who needs to leave their trunk out for the early bus, and she's clearly improving names.
Yeah.
Jessica Azaria, Ira Stevenberg, Sol Zimmerstein, Rachel Clipper Hofferman.
Well, no, she says Ira Stephen Bear. Does everyone know who Ira Stephen Bear is?
No.
The guy who ran Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Frank, I just got a message on here that you and I are celebrating 2 years of friendship on Facebook.
2 years of Facebook friendship with me and Justin.
I love you, little baby boy.
I love you too, J baby.
Michael Showalter shows up as another character. An old Catskills comedian who all of his jokes are about how back when I was here, it was the Stone Age.
Yeah. We ate pterodactyl burgers.
And he kills.
The people are like holding their sides
I went
laughing.
to camp so long ago that I can remember saying sticks and stones may break my bones and meaning it. I went to camp so long ago that fucking Jesus Christ was my counselor, and my best friend hadn't fully evolved yet. His name was Ugg, and he walked on all fours. There were 2 epidemics when I went to camp: head lice and the plague, the bubonic plague.
It's pretty spectacular. I will say one of the moments for me, not a line, is Elizabeth Banks comes up to Paul Rudd at the dinner, the barbecue, and she has a little bit of barbecue sauce on her face. And he like points to her face and he's like, "You got barbecue sauce on her face." And she's like, "Oh, what's that?" And the camera cuts away from her. When the camera cuts back, her face is more covered in barbecue sauce. Camera cuts away from her and cuts back, and it is much more covered in barbecue sauce, and it is disgusting looking. And even Paul Rudd's character, who is an inveterate horn dog, is like, "You're covered in barbecue sauce. You look foul." And then later, "You taste like hamburgers. I don't like you anymore."
We cannot not talk about the dramatic ending of the film.
Yeah.
Which is, Tom, you can explain it.
I'm assuming, yes. So, an actor whose name escapes me.
Wait, that character is Tom.
Oh, fuck off!
Yeah, it is!
Fuck off!
Yeah,
no, it is fucking not! Fuck you.
Put a clip in.
I have been programmed by my galactic master not to talk to Earth denizens of classification JJ and McKinleyazoid.
So, an actor who audiences will recognize as Stewart from The Big Bang Theory is this sort of completely zonked out weirdo.
Talks like a robot.
He talks like a robot.
He uses a chicken as a laser gun.
Yep.
And the whole time he's just doing these bizarre things that people just sort of understand as some sort of great works in his mind. Yeah. And Jeanine Garofalo, who's the camp director, is like, "Hey, are you all right?" And he's like, "Well, you were my counselor for 3 years." And she's like, "Well, I feel a little bad. Whatever you're working on, why don't you do that at the talent show?" So he's the last act at the talent show, and he just comes in as, parallelly, David Hyde Pierce, an astrophysicist, has detected by spotting it in the sky, a piece of Skylab, which dates the film rather well, is entering the atmosphere and is going to land somewhere. It's actually going to land on the hall where the contest is happening. So these two things come together as this character steps onto the stage like Napoleon Dynamite before Napoleon Dynamite, and he comes out in his sunglasses and his gloves, and he puts his hands up into the air and slowly building like the climactic music from a wind blows, and people start freaking out, and papers are blowing around, and Elizabeth Banks starts making out with the lady, and blows the doors open, and it blows Skylab off its course, and it crashes onto the ground in a miraculous supernatural occurrence.
It's ridiculous and amazing.
It is the money shot of the film.
It is. It's pretty great.
So I think I'm Joe Latruglia based purely on the glasses, but anyway.
Those are some classic glasses, and they are very similar to yours.
It was the age of these types of glasses that I wear, and also the polyester trucker hats that I wear, which brings me to a point about this film, which is it has layers, and another way it has layers is in nostalgia.
Yeah.
Now, this film makes me achingly nostalgic.
Yeah.
In a layered manner. It makes me, because the film itself is nostalgic. It was these comedians who were in their late 20s, 30s in the early 2000s being nostalgic for their upbringing and these summer camps in the early 80s, but which is just inherently a nostalgic thing. Adults playing teenagers, it's just meant to put you back in a place. So they're recreating a thing nostalgic for them, but also it's nostalgic for me because this film coming out in 2001. I watched it all through high school in the early mid 2000s. So it makes me nostalgic for the 2000s, but also maybe sort of kinda it was the beginning of the nostalgia-verse that has dominated pop culture. I'm not going to say it's the beginning, but I'm going to say it was early in the process.
It was early. I don't think it had anything to do with it because this was.
Well, this was its own weirdo thing, but it's sort of, well, it made it to syndication on Comedy Central, and it got into all of our collective psyche, and it became this thing, sort of the 2000s fetishization of the late 70s, early 80s, which has just been going, and then obviously that marker has been dragging along parallel to the decades in the past, and now here we are in 2019, we're reliving early 80s nostalgia again, hardcore, with the advent of things like Stranger Things, which are bringing back polyester trucker caps and 80s garb and the bright colors and everything. So yeah, it's a layer cake of nostalgia for me. Every time I watch this film, I start thinking about high school for two reasons. One, because I first saw it when I was in high school, but also, and all the teenage characters, I think about who would be who in this universe, and I think about the people I went to high school with. I won't say any names, obviously, but we'll talk later.
Justin Tortora.
Yeah, well, there's that. I mean, that's obvious. But as the kid who won't take a bath, no. But then it also just inherently makes me nostalgic. So I think about my own high school experience because that's what the film makes me do. But also it's a time marker to high school. So like everything with this movie operates on parallel multiplexing levels.
And let me leapfrog off of that, which is a lot of humor is like people cursing and being lewd. The film opens up with the boys in the girls' bunk making out and then rushing out, and these are all like young kids. That's what is so amazing about this and works as a actual like teen movie is I think because everything's so heightened in this, it is so heightened in this that they're allowed to get away with doing stuff like that, which is you'll never see in actual air quote teen movies because it wouldn't be appropriate. But this movie is more true than like any teen movies. You know what I mean?
That's a weird thing. There's so much like truth in the pathos of the characters, no matter how heightened and ridiculous it is. You still get to like a very true, satisfying, genuine place.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, Tom, with it being the beginning of a nostalgia thing. When we were in like middle school and early high school, 80s nostalgia started to kick back again for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that's when everybody was doing Rubik's Cubes and everybody decided that Journey was awesome. And I Love the 80s was on TV, on VH1.
Fucking Mo Rocca and Hal Sparks.
And Michael Ian Black.
And Michael Ian fucking Black. There it is. There's the connection. Thank you, Frank.
And people were watching I Love the 80s on VH1 and gaining connection to the 1980s. And this show was on Comedy Central. The movie, rather, was on Comedy Central all the goddamn time.
Well, along with things like Dazed and Confused and Almost Famous and
less cerebral things like Johnny Knoxville and Jessica Simpson. What's the name of that show with the racist car driving around? Dukes of Hazzard.
It's so weird that we're still stuck in the fucking 80s because that happened because the people grew up and made things about their childhood. And nowadays artists are making things that were in their siblings' childhood or are
their own experience in the nostalgic rehashing of them.
Exactly. So forever. And this is how it is
Ready Player One.
Yeah, this is how it is for the rest of time. that the 80s means teen. There were so many movies at the time, so it makes sense. But time has stopped in art.
Yeah, no, and it's very sad.
Now we have things coming out like, well, Lady Bird's set today, but like mid 90s and stuff. So it's finally starting to age up a little. And
yeah, no, now they're going to be. Boys, we're getting close to the nostalgia for when we grow up.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna lead the fucking charge.
Which ironically will mean that to the young people who experience this fascination, we will be the lamest people in the world. In a cruel twist of irony, they'll go to Splar Splopik, a rehashing of Hot Topic, to buy their ironically distressed Velvet Underground t-shirts made in 2033.
They're Nightmare Before Christmas.
They're invaders in pogs.
The Cat in the Hat hats.
The alien masks.
Devil sticks.
Keep going. I'm so close.
Lava lamps, but that was a weird thing that came
for
back.
The 70s.
Yeah,
I just don't
remember when yo-yos came back.
Oh yeah,
fuck
Jesus.
yeah, fuck yeah.
Pogs,
and they'll have soaps for grinding.
Pokemon.
And fucking tech decks.
Yes. I had a tech deck, and I would make my wrestling action figures right on it. So,
everyone's gonna start doing the D-Generation X suck it.
Beast
and people
mode.
start getting in trouble for that all over again. New rounds of children. Anyway.
Wait, what?
Wet Hot American Summer. Great movie, everyone.
Oh, I rank it wet hot.
Great film.
It makes me think of Weezer for some reason.
Yeah.
And not because they're playing fucking Africa by Toto.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Look over there. Look, what is it?
I bring
oh my god.
No! No, Tom's watching The Simpsons on his cell phone. Okay.
I see a giant. Oh god! It looks coming through the trees.
Ooh.
What is that? It looks like an Easter Island head, but it's in this like double-breasted suit.
Well, what? Oh my god! Wait a second. Wait a moment. Dr. Frasier Crane! He's upset about a dog that had sex and the baby dogs. Now the baby dogs. Yeah, the baby dogs. Now he has to get rid of the baby dogs. Baby dogs? Yes, I said the baby dogs. Everybody. What? What's wrong?
Oh god.
What? Frasier season 2, episode 2, the unkindest cut of all.
Yes, that is the episode title.
Okay.
I like this episode a lot. This was.
Do you?
This was the yes.
Really?
I thought we were going to have trouble talking about this episode. And I thought maybe that the reason we were going to have trouble talking about this episode is because this is the first episode that, to me, in my mind, is totally normal.
And by normal, do you mean nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah, boring.
Yeah.
Boring. Yeah. It has none of the rough goofiness where they hadn't found the soul yet. They found the soul. This is the first episode with a lot of self-reflexive humor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sort of like that cheaper kind of humor where it's like it's funny because he did that versus somebody did that.
See, where I disagree with you is that it's funny at all.
Yeah, it's not funny. There are no funny jokes in here.
Yeah, I don't.
Are you kidding? When oh my god. We got when Roz holds the puppy.
That's
pretty
pretty
not a
good.
funny joke. That's a nice character moment, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's adorable. Oh, come here, little fella. Oh, aren't you the cutest little thing? Oh, yeah, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Oh, I love you too.
There. Happy now?
Ross, how can you just toss him aside after such a tender display of affection?
I can do it with men, too.
I found it legitimately like nothing.
Interesting.
And I thought it's an odd episode because it's usually very well written. This episode completely switches in the middle. I mean, it's kind of follows like the plot point of Eddie needing a vasectomy, but
a vasectomy? No, he needs to be neutered. We don't give dogs vasectomies.
Whatever. But like the first I guess maybe like 2/3 of the episode are about here are a bunch of new puppies and Frasier has to get rid of them. And then the last third, that's done. That's completely finished. Now it's about Eddie needs to get neutered.
Nonsense about Martin.
And yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised this stood out so much as such a bad episode in your minds.
Once again, it's not necessarily like bad. It's
unremarkable. It's it's one of the ones from this season that I have no recollection of at all.
Yeah.
And when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, that's why I don't remember this, because it's not memorable or interesting.
Yeah.
And the one, spoiler alert, the one that we have coming up next week, or whenever we record this, it is one of the funniest episodes ever.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Now, I know this isn't how it works, but I think good for them to play it safe after last week's abomination of an episode. So this one is completely harmless. It's about puppies.
Yeah, I thought one thing while watching it, which is I don't have too much evidence for this point, but I feel like this plot line of an unexpected batch of puppies is very well trod ground.
Oh, 100%.
In sitcoms, it's sort of, and then maybe that's why it kind of spun off in the way, because it was almost like a writing exercise for the writer's room, which is what's the Frasier version? What's the pathos-laden, psychobabble-laden Frasier version of this? And the whole time I was just thinking about see my vest, see my vest, made from real gorilla chest. Feel the sweater, there's no better than authentic Irish setter. See this hat, 'twas my cat, evening wear, vampire bat. These white slippers are albino, African, endangered rhino, grizzly bear underwear, turtle's neck, I've got my share. Beret of poodle on my noodle, it shall rest. Try my Red Robin suit, it comes one breast or two. See my vest, see my vest, see my vest.
I really realized that midway through that Tom was looking down at his screen. He was not extemporaneously getting the lyrics. That would have been much more impressive if you...
See my loafers, former gophers. It was that, or skin my chauffeurs, but Greyhound suit would really be the best.
Oh, jeez.
I just needed it for reinforcement. BTS, yeah. I did that last bit from my noodle.
And here's my issue with the... with you, Tom.
The Simpsons. Can we just talk about The Simpsons, folks? It's just going to be a thing.
Here's my issue with my major issue with this episode, and how I think, like, okay, if there's not funny jokes, okay, maybe they got tired. It's the structure of it. It's how the second half has nothing to do with the first half.
No, it flips on Martin.
Yeah, and the first half, it takes up so much of the time, and it's such a problem for Frasier, and then, out of nowhere, the problem solved. We come into the home, and the last puppy is being picked up. And it took so much time. If that was like the cold open, or even just the first act, and then you moved on to all of the Martin stuff, okay, I can buy it a bit. But it's just bad writing.
Yeah.
You guys are beating up on this. I mean, they set it up with the very first thing. Sorry, Frank. Where like it's like put a coaster under your beer. Well, my ass is sweating too. Should I put a coaster under that? So they kind of established a precedent of sort of like Martin losing control. And I don't know, like there are jokes. They may not be like gold medal jokes, but like Niles in the park needing the horn to get back to the car.
Some of it is like okay. I'll say this. This is in our podcast's life. This is the first episode that I was just waiting for it to be over.
Not last week's?
No, because like that was like awful, and I'm watching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This one was just boring.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah, there's nothing here. It starts with one premise, because they clearly started with one premise, and then they realized that they had run out of premise.
Yeah.
So once you run out of premise, they're like, let's just do another thing where Martin and Frasier have a fight.
Yeah.
Because that was like a go-to in the first season, and so they went back to it. And then thankfully, like, course corrects very quickly next week when they hit a fastball with next week. Next week is a big one. It's the Matchmaker, which is incredible. And it's an episode that they redo like 10 years later with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Guys, okay, I'm on Frasierpedia.
Jesus Christ!
Hold on.
Frasierpedia.
Okay, here we go. Production
the
notes.
Frasierpedia on this show. I did not envision.
Well, hold on, Frank. This might explain a lot. Production had to stop production ceased for 3 weeks in May because a drunk Kelsey Grammer ran over the box of puppies, causing a dramatic plot shift in the original intended.
You're joking, but it's probably real.
Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer was very likely completely blotto.
Did you like that object work?
I did. I saw that whole time that there was nothing on his screen.
That there was no Frasierpedia.
But he was still looking at it.
That
For
there was
moral
just the
support,
Simpsons
I
lyrics.
guess.
Well, it had the full Frank.
Yeah. It had the lyrics to that Simpsons song.
It had the lyrics to Canyonero.
Next to Monorail.
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
Defend this piece of shit, Tom. You're its only hope.
Yeah, it's 2-1, I think. On this.
Well, they say season 2, episode 2 of Frasier is a lot like a mule with a spinning wheel. He doesn't know what to do with it, and damn to know if they know how he got it.
Okay.
All right, is it time to switch into home improvement talk?
Yeah, more power.
I like when Tim Taylor is making the Peter Pan thing for his son, the pulley system, and he gets stuck. That's pretty fun.
Have you been rewatching?
No, not at all.
You just pulled that from memory.
Oh, yeah, I found it very fun.
I enjoyed the rivalry with Bob Vila. Remember Bob Vila, everyone?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I enjoy Al Borland just in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed there was an episode where they were training to go to space, and it was exactly the Simpsons episode.
Yeah. I enjoy the episode where Jonathan Taylor Thomas becomes
Wait, I just remembered how there was a space episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. I enjoy the episode where Jonathan Taylor Thomas becomes a goth, and Tim the Toolman Taylor, becomes terrified that his son is gay.
Remember back in the day when networks would have like
homophobic trash on their TV? Yeah.
Well, they would have like a themed night.
Like family night.
Yeah. Like a Halloween. They would do Halloween on the TGIF.
Exactly. Block. And like there was one where like the power went out on all of the TV shows.
Yes. Yeah.
That was fun. That can't happen anymore because there's no network TV.
There was the big crossover on the TGIF block where all of the shows melded together with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one where their 1 year, the show was called, I think, like My Favorite Angel.
Teen Angel?
No, that might have been what it was called.
Touched by a Teen Angel?
It crossed over with Boy Meets World and
Touched by a Chris Angel?
Yes, that's Teen Angel, yeah.
Yeah,
created by one of the Simpsons writers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. And there was the episode of Boy Meets World where everybody gets murdered.
Mm-hmm.
The Halloween episode.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, folks, let's stop talking about sitcom things that are more entertaining than the thing we just talked about.
Did you say murder? Because I see Jason Voorhees over there. Cue the sound. Hey, Jason. Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Hey, hi, Jason. Sorry your mom was the star of the first movie.
Yeah, you just showed up at the end as a deformed
mute baby
thing, and then you come back.
And then you go to space in like 2002 or whatever it was.
How was space, Jason?
How is Freddy versus Jason, where Freddy makes a racist joke? Where he is chasing a white girl and a black girl, and he looks at the black girl, and Freddy says, "Oh, sweet, dark meat."
What happens after that is it's Kelly Rowland played the character. She calls Freddy the F word we were talking about earlier. So it was all kinds of messed up. But anyway, God. Jason, no, don't go away, Jason. We love you.
He's bored by your criticism.
Justin, it's amazing to me that there's somebody who remembers Freddy versus Jason as well as I do.
I saw it in the theater.
I did too.
Do you guys remember Freddy versus Jason versus Alien versus Predator?
They were going.
No, but I remember the comic book Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Oh,
Ash from Evil Dead, played by Bruce Campbell.
I thought you were going to say Ash from Pokemon.
Yes. Yeah, that would be better.
Oh, God. Anyway, also, do you hear those children laughing? This is a creepy campsite. Also, I think I said we're in HBO's Chernobyl, so hey, Mr. Skarsgård.
No, we're in HBO's Treme.
Everybody's playing New Orleans jazz. No, we're in HBO's Deadwood, you cunts and cocksuckers.
You cunts and cocksuckers.
We're actually in HBO's Girls.
Eat my ass.
Sorry, what's her name? Who got her ass eaten in that show? Was it Brian Williams' daughter?
Allison.
Ms. Dunham.
Williams.
Ms. Dunham, your book is very disturbing.
We're actually in Star Wars. Hello there. I'm Max Rebo. Thank you for coming tonight.
Hello, I also drive a bus in Patterson, New Jersey.
Hey, it's Patterson. Anywho,
folks.
What's happening? We're in it. We're camping. Let's, as we roast these last final weenies before we go sleep together in that tent over there.
By which you mean
it's cuddle.
Book.
What do we have to recommend? I don't know. What do you say, my friend? And I want to tell you a thing that I enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy it more. Hello.
You kept it mostly to one.
Pretty good.
I would like to recommend. I've recommended 2 of Kelly Nugent's podcasts, so I might as well recommend all of Kelly Nugent's podcasts that I listen to. Where is it? Same Day Shipping. It's a super fun podcast hosted by Kelly Nugent, Ryan Mogi, Colin Morris, and Patrick Ellers. And they just ship various characters from media. And it oftentimes gets hilariously disgusting. But it's always just a nice, fun time. It always brings a smile to my face when it's released on a Friday. I have not listened to Hellmouthy Kelly Nugent's Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast because I've not watched that show. But once I watch that and listen to that, I'll get to her final podcast. Hello, Kelly Nugent.
The show doesn't hold up, unfortunately, and I say that as somebody who watched the show.
Yeah.
And I tried to rewatch it. You might like it, but like, it has aged.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tom.
I am going to recommend a fucking YouTube channel. Recommended to me by my friend, and I didn't know about it because that's the way YouTube works. Things are incredibly famous, and yet everyday people who also consume social media have never heard of it.
Shout them out.
Cortland.
Hello, Cortland.
Like when you recommended After Hours, like 4 years after that show ended, the Cracked After Hours.
Kind of precisely, and it's funny because this recommendation is a lot like After Hours in that it's not comedic at all, and it's not set in a diner, but it's long form video essays, pretty well thought out. It's the Pop Culture Detective. It's a guy, and he basically spends a lot of time thinking about pop culture depictions of masculinity and tropes in movies. And first time in a long time, somebody has introduced new ideas to me that really got me thinking, that I started seeing everywhere, that really held up to scrutiny. I've referenced one earlier, which is one that he came up with called Born Sexy Yesterday, which is this big trope in speculative fiction where a sexually mature woman with the mind of a child is introduced, and the man that sort of becomes the caretaker, it's this power phantom that happens all the time, which is The Fifth Element as an example, Overboard. Unfortunately, it kind of fits Annie from Twin Peaks to Dale Cooper.
Yeah.
And it's a really incisive trope, but also, abduction as romance, predatory love, where stalkerish behavior is framed as romantic. Really interesting stuff.
I am going to recommend a film that I watched very recently for the first time on Wong Kar-wai's birthday. It's a film that I watched on the Criterion Channel. It is called Chungking Express. And it's a movie that's been out of print for a really long time in physical media, so I've always had a hard time tracking it down. But if you have any reason to subscribe to the Criterion Channel, it's that they will put on their service things that are no longer available through the physical Criterion collection. So you can find stuff that is incredibly hard to find now if you want to buy it. So this is a great Wong Kar-wai movie that tells two parallel stories, each about a lonely police officer in Hong Kong, each of which has undergone a very recent breakup. The first half is shorter and stars Tony Leung, and the second half stars a Hong Kong actor that I'm not as familiar with. But anyway, it's these sort of forlorn, romantic love stories about these two sort of young men who realize that women are not sort of problems to be solved and are not sort of there for their own sort of internal value. And they sort of discover that maybe their loneliness is kind of their problem. And it also has, in the second half, a really well-developed female character named Faye, who kind of comes in and fucks up this lonely police officer's life in a positive way. And they realize through the sort of intersection of their relationship that they can sort of make it work by spending time apart. It's a really interesting movie. It's totally worth watching. It's really beautiful and well done. Chungking Express. Go watch it.
Nice. Right on.
All right, folks.
Well, it looks like we might better have to mosey on out of this haunted graveyard. Chernobyl. There's Jason Voorhees. Thank you very much for coming over here, my friend. If you want, we got a big old tent here, You can come spoon with me, old Justin, and I won't get scared of you, no, sorry. I know that you've been through a hard time. And
follow us on social media.
Oh, that's right. You can follow me. My name is Justin on, all those social media places. I'm on Instagram. That's it. Follow me there. You can follow me there. I'm at a welcome _2_ wonderfuls, and also some things that made me cry.
Follow me on Twitter. I am at Frank McDevitt on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We are at PlaidLadsPod on Twitter and Instagram.
And, listen to my music like I played for you this evening, elbowache.bandcamp.com and Elbowache Music on social media.
Hit it.
Next week, we are talking about...
Jesus fucking Christ. I think we're talking about cigarettes after sex. So listen to that, and we'll be here to talk to you about it. But I just
talking about one of the best ever episodes of Frasier.
One of the best ever episodes of Frasier. And as we leave you on this sweaty, hottie, campy night, I want you to leave a 5-star review, and please, that's it. Leave a 5-star review. All right, fellas. Yeah. Yes, I do. I am a guy. I'm just like you. I don't mean to kill you, but I got it in my blood because my mother was a murderer, man. She got her head chopped off in the first movie. And I went to space. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.